Okay, everybody. Hello. I had to switch some things up there, and here we are. So I'm trying this on a different device because that's how we're learning about things. So welcome, I'm Gayle, and this is Yin Yoga, and I'm very excited to have you in my own studio. I have some sound healing equipment here. So later when we get into Shavasana or the last couple poses, you'll hear the bowls that I'll play, and hopefully it'll get you relaxed. So you can put your jammies on. You can do this in any comfortable clothing, of course. Grab your yoga mat. If you have some ear pods, would be good to set up so you can hear the bowls. Otherwise, I had the link to the Spotify, but that's on the other live thing that I made that is not working. So if you go to Spotify under the Power Life Yoga account, you'll see Yin Yoga with Gayle on April 5th, and you can get the download that playlist, or you don't have to listen to any kind of music. So welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. Grab your yoga mat, a blanket if you have one, and I will get this set up so you can see some postures at some point. Hang on one second. Sorry. I had my other computer set up, but this is how it's going. All right, you should be able to see. That's good. Your eyes are going to be closed anyway, so no big deal. So I am going to put the playlist on so I can hear it. And please, we'll start standing. Let your eyes close. And then just fold forward. If you have a blanket, you can bring a blanket just right on your lap over the legs, and then just fold forward. Now I just happened to eat dinner, so I'm not going to do that. Bend your knees, let your head hang low. Release any tension from the back. You can grab your opposite elbow if you'd like. Drop the hands. Let all the weight come out of the back, out of the spine, right out through the crown of the head. Notice how you're standing. If you're leaning forward, shift back, shift from one side to the other. Take the right hand down and lift your left arm up for a stretch. Roll out your wrist. Left knee can bend quite a bit. Circles, whatever you need. Lift your gaze, take it down, whatever you need. Breathe in. Other side. Breathe in. Breathe out. Come to a dangling pose again, also known as a ragdoll. Separate the feet a little bit more and start to come to a squat. You might need to put some pillows underneath your butt. You might be high up onto the mounds of the feet. You might be a little bit lower. Sink back, close your eyes. Hands can be to the floor. Hands can be in prayer. Tap into the breath. Feel the sensations of the breath. It's a little bit of compression in the belly here. Breathe as deeply as you can. It's not with the ujjayi breath, but it's a breath that you can access that's full and deep, less or more than your subconscious breath. So very aware. I am aware. I am aware of the breath. I'm aware of this body maybe for the first time today. What else do you notice that you really haven't had a chance to notice before? Today, you've been having a lot of activities, I'm sure. Breathe in, breathe out. Come back to dangling pose, hands to the floor, raise the hips high. Walk the hands over to the right side. Pull the left hip back. Deep full breaths, nothing forceful. Muscles are not really engaged. Come back to center, other side. Just be aware of the sensations that you feel as you stretch, just really gently. Come back to center and then back to a yoga squat for a second time. Reach back into the saddle as you sit back, pull the knees back. Bring your hands to your heart, maybe bow your head. May this practice be everything we need it to be today. Maybe a place where you can just tap in and let everything melt away. Make sure your phone's off. Be aware of, the world around you, the sounds around you. Life is happening, life is spinning all around. But can you give yourself this hour tonight, just a place to just kind of relax the body, maybe find some clarity in the mind. The low back, it's a lovely stretch here. You can feel it as it sinks into the earth. Maybe lift up just a little bit through the heart. Draw the shoulders in the back. Tuck your chin. Breathe in. Third time for dangling pose. Hands to the floor. Reach your hips high. Big stretch for the back of the legs. Straighten the legs if you can. If you have strong hamstrings, of course, the knees are bent, but see if you can start to straighten them just a little bit. You can walk your hands between your feet and maybe back just a little bit if you're pretty flexible. You're stretching the fascia here. That's the fascia that's underneath the skin, over the muscle or over the organs. And if we don't give that fascia time to stretch, the cartilage, the ligaments, the tendons in the body, then they'll start to freeze up. Come on back down. Come down to your knees. Find some movement in tabletop, perhaps cow or cat. Really no need to keep looking at the screen. Just trust that you know exactly where you need to move. Just a few breaths here. If you're listening to the Spotify, it's a pretty sweet new song from Jackson Browne. Come back to center. Sleeping swan on the right side. It's very much like pigeon pose. So grab a pillow or a blanket if you need to. Maybe you don't. So start just by pulling the right knee right between the hands. Slide your left leg back. You can look back off your shoulder to make sure the top of the foot's on the floor. Your leg can be straight, your left leg, or you can have it bent. Okay, if you need a block underneath your butt or a pillow, put it there. Can always drop all the way onto the outside of your right hip. Lean back just a little bit. And at some point in time when you're ready, just fold forward. Fold over the right thigh, over the right shin, over the right foot. Yin yoga, you want to find your first edge. Your first edge is where you start to feel sensation. Of course, you're not hurting anything. You just feel a nice, lovely stretch. As the muscles relax, you'll notice that you can get deeper and deeper just by noticing the breath. It'll start to melt you deeper and deeper without any force or determination. If you notice you've gone too far, come out and begin again. So we find our edge. We hold the postures for time. I did it, Michelle. We hold the postures for time, and then we hold ourselves in a place of compassion. And when I say that, I mean like you would hold space for your best friend that's going through a really hard time, or when you would sit somebody with somebody that you miss or you regard in a very high way. So let the eyes close. Enjoy the breath. You'll feel this in the groin, perhaps, or the deep hip. So front hip flexor. It's great for sciatic. Don't go too far. We're about halfway there on this side. I'll call you out when it's time. You're almost there, probably about 5 more breaths. Can you deepen this without hurting yourself, without going too far? Bring the hands to the floor. Very slowly rebuild. Lean onto your right hip, moving into a variation of shoelace pose. Keep your right knee bent or whatever front leg is there, and then swing your back leg all the way out in front of you and bring it into the front of the right shin. So not too far over just yet. I'll turn sideways a little bit so you can see. This is a faux lambskin, in case you're wondering. Sit up nice and tall. Now this can be your shoelace pose right here. Find length through the spine. You can lean back if you need to make any adjustments. You can put a bolster or something underneath you or a pillow. If you like to go a little bit further, step your left foot over to the outside of the right shin. This might be enough for you here. I need to make some adjustments in my hips so both the sits bones can anchor down. If you feel like you're kind of leaning back into the pelvis, definitely put a blanket or something underneath your butt just to raise the sits bones up a little bit. Okay, you can stay right here with the knee in. Okay, you might still be with the right foot over. There's no right or wrong. Excuse me, that's the left foot. And then if you want, you can take the outside of the left knee to the inside of the right knee. Both the heels can be towards the opposite hip. You might notice that leaning forward feels a little bit more. If you start to lean forward and that's way too much for you, then back off. If it feels pretty comfortable for you when you lean forward, maybe bring your nose towards the floor, you can always kick your feet out just a little bit more. So, loosest of loose people kick the feet away from the hips. Lean forward. And close the eyes. If you're leaning forward, definitely getting into the stomach and the spleen meridians. You're working the gallbladder, you're working the liver. So it's a great way to detoxify as we're moving into the spring season. It's a great way to get rid of all the old stagnant energy in the body or all the carbohydrates that we were eating during the winter time and keeping that extra on. You're doing a lot more activity now, probably in the springtime. Yin yoga is a beautiful way to clean out the body. So find your first edge when you're ready to go to your second edge. I'll call you out when it's time. If you notice that anytime you feel some flexion or some um, activity in the muscles, see if you can let that go. If you're having a issue releasing into these postures, you feel a lot of guarding and holding, then allow yourselves to tighten that up a little bit where you feel that and then release. This is a great thing to do at nighttime too if you're having a hard time to fall asleep and you can't feel relaxed. Tighten up things, tighten up your toes, tighten up your legs, tighten up your butt, your abs, tighten up your hands, tighten up your face, and then show everything how to relax. Sometimes we're in that fight or flight constantly. We forget how to relax. So learn how to do this naturally. We're over halfway there. So now go back into the saddle. See if you can reach forward a little bit, pull the whole front of your chest forward, and then roll back down into the shoulders, into your head, just for the last few breaths here. Deep breaths into the kidneys. Hands to the floor, rebuild your spine. Take your time. So if you start to feel dull, not a pain, but just like dull heaviness in the hips or in the spine, and it takes a little bit of slow pace to come out of these postures, then it's a sign that you're doing these postures correctly. We'll move from a twist from here. If you can stay in your shoelace, you can keep the knees on top of each other. Sit up tall, take a gentle twist towards your left side. So just notice whatever knee is on top and go that way. There's also an option to take that top leg and just put the foot flat. You can hook I like to hook the shin with the forearm, sit up tall, and just gentle stretch. Both the sits bones anchor down. Lift up from your low ribs, from your hips, and then let the low ribs turn on the exhale. Every time you inhale, it's you're creating space. When you exhale, it's the low ribs, mid ribs, upper ribs, and shoulders. Eventually, from the navel, it's the rib cage or shoulders, then your gaze perhaps off the shoulder. We'll be here for a while, so you're not really forcing anything. Your feet are relaxed. The space between your toes. Hips heavy, anchored. Head drops back instead of forward. Bring your chin towards your right shoulder, drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. Feel that stretch there, the fascia, the neck. If you've ever gotten sick, you know the lymph nodes right around the throat area, the neck area can get swollen. So what you're doing here is just stretching this out so it can flow freely. So there's no obstruction in the highway. The highways, the yogis call the nadis, the highway of energy. So you want that to be able to flow. So just nice, gentle stretch. And drop your head forward or back, just left ear towards your left shoulder. You'll find the space. If you came out of the shape a little bit, just restructure. You can pick up your head. You might even feel that little bit of twinge there. You're still in the twist, just gently twisting off your left shoulder. Anchor through the sits bones. Shift forward or back if you're leaning to one side or the other. Find the balance. Just imagine your spine being so tall. And that dangling that we took in the beginning got you out of some of that compression. that we're always moving against with gravity. So imagine that the space between each vertebra is just like you were stacking coins and you have that little bit of space in between. Imagine it getting taller. I have a few students that are a little bit older and they're always surprised. I'm not so surprised at all when they come back and they said, I went to the doctor and the doctor told me I was taller. And they asked if I was doing yoga. Yes, yoga creates space, space in all different places, space in our body, maybe space in, um, our relationships and with the food. Maybe you actually put your fork down when you're eating, space between bites, so you can actually appreciate the taste of the food. Slow your digestion, slow your eating down. Maybe the space it takes you to respond to somebody that you are having a conversation with. It's taking yoga off of your mat. It's really the time, the place we're at right now in this world. It's really a time to remember to take our yoga off our mat. You've been practicing for this. Our practice is benefiting ourselves, but then it benefits others in the world. Our relationships with food and people and the earth. All that space is space for healing. Take 5 more breaths here. Drop anything off your shoulders that you no longer need. Exhale. And then really slowly return back to center. You might have forgotten even where that center was. Remind yourself where your center is. Anybody? I can almost hear like spines around the world, just creating all this space. To slowly come out of this. Maybe downward facing dog might feel incredible for you, or tabletop. Just find some type of movement, whatever it may be. Every body is different. Your body's different in the evening than it is in the morning, in the afternoon. Probably a lovely sound of enjoyment might come out. Ah, big sigh. And great news is we start with single-legged or sleeping swan on the other side. So the left knee comes forward. Remember that? Like 3 poses ago. That was a long time ago. Look back off your shoulder, top of the foot on the floor. You can either come right onto your outside of your hip or you can stay off. You can slip a block or something, blanket underneath. You can lean back a little bit just for a few breaths. And then when you're ready to come down, just slowly make your way all the way down. This side is different than the other because your femur fits into your hip socket a different way. You know, the the neck of your femur head fits different into the hip socket. Each side is different. So if you recognize maybe this side is different than the other, of course we'll see the difference in all things. It's beautiful. Take your time. This time in these postures is about 5 minutes, which seems really long. But find your first edge. Meet yourself where you are, just like you would with your best friend. And then just be there. Enjoy the breath. Be for the first time all day. I'll call you out when it's time. Spring is a time for deep cleanses. And perhaps you found yourself cleaning out the home or a fasting time of rebirth, resurrection, remembering, rediscovering, clearing away all the things you no longer need. You're over halfway there. There's a place else that you need to deepen into here. There's a twist. You can always catch the foot, the back foot, if you need a bind. Just make this whatever you need it to be. And trust that inner voice, not the ego, but that true inner voice that always knows your center. Your pure awareness. Find that one place that still feels a little guarded or is holding, and just be there with it as it starts to open up, and trust that this is a time of healing. A few more, five, probably about five more breaths. Build yourself all the way up. Take your time. Mm. And swing your back leg all the way around. Start with the front of the shin. Make any adjustments that you need. Shoelace pose wherever you need it to be. Perhaps the foot crosses over the opposite thigh. Outer knee goes into the inner lower knee. Feet can go out far or stay in. Use a prop if you need to. Bring yourself forward or back. You'll find the place and I'll call you out when it's time. Stay here and breathe. About 5 more deep breaths here. Just witnessing the in breath switch to the out breath without pause at all. Hands to the floor, rebuild yourself slowly. You'll know that the more you practice yin yoga, how it complements all the movement that you have. Maybe the new movement you find in spring, the activities outside, the running, the biking, the walking. Move into your twist here. Sit up tall, anchor through both of your sits bones. And just start to slowly turn. Remember, we were here for a while, so you're not rushing into this twist off your right shoulder. But the more you can create healthy cartilage and ligaments and tendons, the fascia, the interstitium of the body, these inner workings of the body that we don't really focus so much on, is, our workout is more about the muscles. And this yin is the work in the feminine and the soft. And this is where the healing is. So you'll feel that, your activities are really benefited by this recovery time. Dr. Helene Langevin, you can look her up online. She has all this information about fascia research and interstitium and how it provides benefits to autoimmune diseases and even cancer. Healthy body, alkaline body, less acidic. Remember, we stretch the back of the neck, so drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. Take your chin towards your left, and you'll find that spot that feels amazing. For a little while, you might find another spot that feels equally amazing. Take it slow. Remember, your vagus nerve runs this big cord of nerves. It's the wandering nerve. It's down your neck into the body. It wanders from organ to organ. It wanders around the whole body, making sure everything is healthy. The longer your breaths are, they say the longer the nerves are. If you have short breaths, your nerves are short, you're more prone to getting more reactive. So deep, full breaths. I recognize it's not easy to take this time, but the more time you take for this, the more time you have for other things. Just like meditation. Now more than ever, you should have a meditation practice. I've been getting lazy myself, but this is a time we need it more now than ever. Take care of ourselves and we can take care of others. When you're ready, you can pick up your head and then just about another 10 or so breaths, your deepest twist without force to your right side. No force or determination, just ease with the breath. Head in line with the rest of the body, not out front. Crown right over the tailbone. Return back to center. Take your time. Mm, mm. Anyone? Thanks for hanging in there. So the next few postures, you'll find your way onto your back. If you're still looking at the screen, you see that my room has darkened as it's getting darker outside. You won't need to see anyways. So come onto your back. This is where I'll start playing the healing bowls. You might even hear the gong. So if you have your earbuds in or ear pods, you probably feel the vibration a little bit more. Make your way onto your back. Find a way that's comfortable and come into a constructive rest. Constructive rest is where your feet are flat onto the mat, but take them out wide to the sides of the mat. And find your knees fall in, like fall in bridge. The knees kind of fall in, your feet are out. Stretch your arms up to the sky, roll out your wrist, and cross your left elbow underneath your right, and bring your opposite hand to your shoulder like you're giving yourself a hug. So your left hand will go to your right shoulder, your right hand will go to your left shoulder, but drop the elbows down. And that's the pose. Constructive rest. And soften the brow and the jaw and the inner ear. And the shoulders. Your belly. Feel the legs, the femur bones, the thigh bones fall back into place. Even the shin bones fit right into the ankles. Find the space between the toes. And just notice what elbow is on top and re-switch your arms. So recross. Perhaps it's the right elbow underneath the left this time. The left hand still on the right shoulder. Right hand still on the left. See if you can soften into this embrace. Aware of all things. Aware of no things. Come into the pose, Shavasana. Draw your feet in closer. Take them out wide, perhaps. Bolster or pillow underneath the knees. You might need to grab a blanket and cover you. Let yourself fall into a place. With every exhalation, takes you deeper and deeper into the floor, into the earth. Return yourself back to perfection here. Bring yourself back to the place that you're laying in the room. And feel the body and completely at rest, restored, renewed. Bring the breath back into the body, down into your feet. You move your toes down into your hands, as you move your fingers, move the wrist, your ankles. Find a big stretch here as you reach the arms long. Move your head from side to side. Roll onto your left side here, just as you go into the rest of the evening. A place where you can find some movement in the right, more masculine side. If you're ready to go to bed, then go to the left. Guide yourself all the way up to seated. Let your eyes close. Bring your hands to your heart and bow your head. May this practice be everything we need it to be. May we allow ourselves more time for healing, more time for relationships, more time to be present and peaceful. May we continue to meet each other here, the best place, the place that knows love, the place that is love. The light and the love and the truth that dwells within me bows and honors you and acknowledges the light and the love and the truth within you. When you're there and I'm there, there can only be one. Namaste. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me tonight. I'll have some more live Restore classes. I'll do one Tuesday and Thursday. One of them will have Yoga Nidra with them. So Yoga Nidra is a guided meditation. So I'll do some postures. And then you'll probably definitely want to be in your PJs and maybe even in bed near the end. And it just puts you in this lovely hypnagogic state that is blissful and restful, and everybody needs to do it. So thanks so much for joining me. Have a lovely, lovely evening. I'll figure out how to turn this off at some point. Oh, Lord. Yes. Thanks.